Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. And today I just start off, coming up with the entire Unix. Okay, so entire Unix topics. So which is used, which is needed for the Abinitio persons. Okay, Abinitio professionals. Okay, for the interview. So I'll just discuss this tomorrow. So today I just brought one Unix use case. Okay, so that so that you can understand how what type of questions might come. Okay, in the L2 round. Okay, so this question is from community request. So we'll see. Okay, so we'll solve this today, and then tomorrow we'll see the topics. Okay, so what are the topics related to shell scripting? Okay, so needed for our Ab initio community. So let's start with the today's session. And if you have watched, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. And then if you're new to the channel, I will just ping the link above. Okay, so you can study all the questions from the interview playlist. Okay, so let's just start today. So this question, so this is a use case. Okay, so this is from Barclays client round. So Unix use case. And so this is a question. Okay, so simply you have a config file. Okay, so you have some let's say you have a bash.cfg. Okay, so you have a config file. Okay, so in that config file you have these data. Okay, so 1 2 3 and then separated by delimiter. Okay, so and then you have to write a shell script. Okay, so to you know first of all read each line. Okay, so read each line. Okay, and then pass them to Abinitio graph. Okay, and then retrieve the graph. So these three functions. Okay, so you have to complete these three functions. Okay, so we will start with this use case. So before that, I'll just update with this one. Okay, so coming to request, this one is from Shreya. Okay, and then the tutor expectation would be you should be good, good in shell scripting. So that's the expectation. Okay, so since Ab initio people should be strong in Ab initio, Unix, and SQL. Okay, so in these three areas, so they might test you. Okay, so some companies they will test you with just Unix one line code, but some companies will give you a scenario like this. Okay, so depends on the client. And concepts for this. Okay, so concepts for this would be is completely shell script, right? So you should know how to write a code. Okay, how to write a script. Okay, so in that what like see like lot of things. Okay, get parameters. Okay, and then read a file, and then start while loop. Okay, so if loop. Okay, so these kind of, and then as air command. Okay, since we are going to run the graph inside the script. Okay, so for that we might use as sandbox run. Okay, so all this type of techniques you should know. Okay, before you solve this use case. Okay, so we'll start with the shell script. Okay, so we'll start coding that code. Okay, so my like see the one way is that you read. Okay, you have this config file. You create this config file. Okay, so first step, create this config file. So, okay, so first step, so create a config file. Okay, so I'll just take I'll just create that. Okay, so user let's say bash.cfg. Okay, so there you just write all this content. Okay, so you just copy paste this content so that our config file is ready now. So now we will just write a shell script. Okay, so second point, you write a shell script. Okay, so write a bash script. Okay, so which reads the above config. Okay, so config, and then runs the graph, and runs the graph. Okay, mp. Okay, third one, whatever, for like see all these three conditions you have to fit in. Okay, so three conditions you have to fit in. So make sure the constraints. Okay, so whatever use case constraints fit in. Okay, so make sure the conditions are met. So that's it. Okay, so these 3 points. Okay, so these 3 points, you have to you have to make. Okay, you have to structure out. Okay, structure out these three steps. Okay, so I just structured out. You have to develop this one. Okay, so first you can develop this easily. So this one is easy. Okay, so just go to your home path and then create a file. And then second part, okay, bash script. So we'll just start with the bash script. Okay, so the bash script, you can give any path. Okay, so I'm just giving home user. Okay, so would be run dot, let's say test dot sh. Okay, otherwise Barclays.sh or whatever. Okay, so I will create a script. Okay, let's take it to the new page. So let's start with declaring it's a it's a bash script. So it's a bash script, and then now see, since we have created this config file already, I'll just call this config. Okay, so I'm just calling this config. So this one is in home path, right? So home user and then bash.cfg. Okay, so I called the config and then now graph. Okay, so which graph I need to run? So that I will just call this. Okay, so you can give your sandbox path. Okay, so run bash.mp. Okay, so whatever. Okay, so now we have to try. Okay, so we have to try maximum up to 3 times. Okay, so we have to run the retry the graph up to 3 times. Okay, so for the first try, now we'll just pass this parameter and then we'll run. If that is failing, then we'll try with the second attempt, and then if that is failing, then we'll try with the third attempt. Okay, so totally 3 attempts. Okay, so we'll say retry limit. Okay, so retry limit would be 3. Okay, so these are variables like we have to declare. Okay, so before we start with the logic, so now what we'll do is that we'll construct a while loop. Okay, this while loop is for reading the parameter. Okay, reading the config. Okay, so you are going to read the config. Okay, 3 lines. Okay, so how will you read that? So by using ifs. Okay, see these concepts you have to understand. Okay, so how do you read the each line which is separated by delimiter? Okay, so I'll just you have to learn with the AI. Okay, so I'm specifying the lead delimiter here and then reading. Okay, so read hyphen r. Okay, so what I'll do is that it will take, so this that line will take this particular, I'll just copy the paste this one. Okay, so since your config file is having, okay, let's say, okay, so if your config file has this one, okay, this code will separate. Okay, it will separate this delimiter. Okay, and then it will separate 1 2 3. Okay, so and then it will assign to the whatever specify here. Okay, so p1 p2 p3, so these 3 parameters. Okay, so I'll start at the for loop here. Okay, so I'll just mark it I started the for loop, the while loop here. Okay, so and then no, at some area I have to give done. Okay, so if in like here I will just write the code. So here what should I write? I should write, see, for each for each parameter. Okay, for each parameter I have to run the graph. Okay, so before that I have to specify which the attempt number. Okay, so what I will do is that echo. Okay, so echo, I'll just print. Okay, so run graph with the parameters. Okay, so with the parameters I'll just put that no, I'll just specify the uh, p1. Okay, those 3 parameters. Okay, so those 3 parameters I'll just specify so that the user might know. Okay, so this is just a comment. Okay, so here I'm just specifying the attempt. So attempt equal to first attempt. Okay, and then result. So for no result is like that, we don't have any result, so 0. Okay, so I'm just declaring these things. Okay, for my logic. Okay, for my logic case. Okay, so now what I'll do is that I'll just write the as sandbox. Okay, before writing that I'll just compare. Okay, so I'll just compare the, if my attempt is less than 3. Okay, so I have to see that. Okay, because like I have to total attempt is 3. Okay, so I have to okay, see you have to understand, for writing the script you have to understand less than. Okay, so these areas. Okay, ifs, hyphen r, hyphen le. Okay, so why I'm like leaving space here. Okay, so you have to understand these things. Okay, okay, so now, so my first attempt. Okay, attempt is equal to 1. My first attempt 1 is less than 3. Okay, so that will work. Okay, so now do. Okay, so this one should be done. Okay, somewhere. Okay, so now I will just write. Okay, so first attempt. Okay, so what I'll do is that attempt. Okay, so first, okay, I'll just call that variable of total attempt. Okay, so total, you have total read, total 3 attempts, right? So total try 3. Okay, so I'm just commenting that. Okay, so now we have declared the variables, we have read the each line. Okay, we are reading each line. Okay, So now for each line, now we are going to execute the graph here. Okay, so now I'll do what I'll do is that air sandbox run. Okay, so here I'm calling out the graph name. Okay, so my parameter is there. Okay, so this is my parameter. Okay, variable. I'm just calling the variable. Okay, so now you can pass the the parameter. Okay, so you see for air sandbox run you have a lot of arguments, right? Okay, so you can study this air sandbox run okay in your this site. Okay, in your learning site. In this learning site you can learn all these air commands and m commands. Make sure you read. If you don't know about air sandbox run, you have to read that. Okay, so I'm just pausing the parameter here. Okay, so let's say param1. So this param1 name would be difficult, like it can be anything. Okay, value1 whatever. Okay, so let's say value1 equal to, I'm just calling out the first variable. Okay, first uh, first parameter that is from config file. Okay, so totally in each line we have three parameters separated. So I'll just call first. Okay, like that you can call, you know you can call all three. Okay, so value 2. So this value 1, value 2, value 3 will be called out in a graph. Okay, so in your graph, if you open the pset, you will find value 1, value 2, value 3. So this will be available in your pset. Okay, so you don't have to worry. Okay, so from the script level we are passing that. Okay, so that will, that is a requirement. Okay, so you see requirement is, so this is the requirement, right? So we have read the each line. Okay, so we have read the each line, we are just passed them. So these 2 points we have completed. Okay, so now we have to make the graph run 3 times, checking, okay, whether it's failing or not. Okay, so now what we'll do is that, so now see, now whether if this statement runs or not. Okay, how will you find that? By using status. Okay, so finding the status. How will you do that? In bash script you can give this one. Okay, dollar question mark. Okay, so this one will find, okay, will tell you whether it's 0 or 1. Okay, whether it's success or failure. Okay, so now what we'll do is that we'll just find out, okay, so if graph is succeeded or not. Okay, so for that if, okay, so if I'm just calling this status. Okay, graph status hyphen equal to 0. Okay, so then what should I do? Okay, echo here I have to specify. Okay, so graph success. Okay, graph success for the parameters. Okay, so which parameters? You can call that one out. Okay, so you can call that one out, p1, p2, p3, because we are running 3 times, right? So whether we are not sure whether this one is okay, whether the graph runs with this parameter or the second line or the third line. Okay, so it will get printed. Okay, so on which attempt, so that will get printed in the if statement. And then now if the graph is running fine. Okay, so then what we should do? Okay, if the graph is running fine, we have to make the result as 1. Okay, change the result as 1, and then you just give a break statement. Okay, so that it will break. Okay, so it will break the loop. So this is important. Okay, so it will break the loop. Okay, so what happens if you, what happens if you uh, let's say if your graph is not running fine. Okay, what happens in that point? Okay, so in the else spot echo graph failed. Okay, so let's say graph failed, and then retry. Okay, so retrying, let's put retrying, because like our use case we have to retry, right? So we have to retry. So while retrying we have to increase the attempt. Okay, so how will you do that? Okay, I'll just call the parameter attempt. Okay, so I will increase that, right? So how will you do that? So by using, by incrementing that. Okay, so plus plus. Okay, so by incrementing this one I can do. Okay, so now what we can do is that we can just sleep for 3 seconds. Okay, just to give some break. Okay, so in the else part I'm just incrementing, I'm putting a printed statement graph failed, and then I'm incrementing the attempt, and then I'm just sleeping. Okay, so I'm just giving a break for 3 seconds. Okay, so now I have to close my if loop. Okay, so I have started a if loop here. I'll just close it here. Okay, so this one is I'll just close it here. Okay, else and if. Okay, so done is closed. Okay, so done is done. So this one is done. Okay, so this one is from the while loop here. Okay, so okay, so first on the graph running is fine. Okay, so now what happens? Now this this entire thing, okay, so this entire thing will run again. Okay, so if condition, see, if the graph is running fine, then we can come out. Okay, so we can come out of this while statement, and then we can give, okay, we can give graph ran successfully, okay, like that. Okay, or whatever. Okay, so now if the graph is failing, okay, graph is failing, then what happens? Your while statement will run for the second time. Okay, so attempt will be 2, because we have increased attempt here, right? Incremented. Okay, so attempt will be 2, 2 is less than 3, and the same thing will run. Okay, same graph will be running. Okay, so this one runs for the second parameter. Second parameter is second line is nothing but the 4 5 6. Okay, so this runs for 4 5 6. Okay, so it runs for second line, and then second line, if the graph is failing, then again attempt will be incremented. Again your graph will retry for the third line. Okay, so like that. So what happens, what happens if nothing works out? Okay, so we have to write out some comments if nothing works out. Okay, so for that, if, so this one I'll just write it in red. Okay, if I'll say, result. Okay, if the result is still 0, okay, so then what happens? Then, okay, so echo graph failed after, after retry. Okay, after, total attempts. Okay, total attempt will be 3. Okay, so after these attempts, okay, after 3 attempts, for the parameter. Okay, after 3 attempts, so that, I'm just putting if. Okay, okay, so now where I am calling the config, so you will find out, like, I'm not calling the config anywhere, right? So this while statement, it will read the config file. So done here. Now here we'll read the config file. Okay, so config. Okay, that's it. So we see this is the final, this is first for while loop. Okay, so this is the first while loop, important point. Okay, so see, I understand this is a, like, this is a like 5 to 10 minutes of coding. Okay, so if this question is being asked in an interview, you have to primarily tell these first 3 steps. Okay, these steps are important, and then you tell the logic here. Okay, so I will read, see, this can tell told in just a few seconds. Okay, and then this while line. Okay, and then whatever if else. Okay, whatever if else, and then as and buffer. Okay, so these are critical. Okay, so this yellow one, and then this while loop. Okay, this while loop, inside while loop, and then as and buffer, and then if conditions for graph failing and success. Okay, so that, that is enough. Okay, so after that, this one. So this one is like finally, like, you'll be the, like, see, in your shell script. So this is the way we can code. Okay, so if you practice, see, if you practice shell scripting, you kind of, it will be easy for you. Okay, so everything we can do it in the back end. Okay, so I hope you understand this video. Okay, so now if you want to understand more, just go to your go to your sandbox. Okay, so go to your sandbox, and then check in a bin path. Okay, you will get lot of script. Okay, so lot of script will be there. So try to understand the script. Okay, see, basically your Abinitio runs from the co-op, right? So it basically runs from the co-op system, right? So basically from the Linux system. Okay, so you have to understand, how the script is working. Okay, so you don't have to design anything in the front end. Okay, so make sure if your graph is designed in the front end, you just have to pass a parameter. Okay, so that's the pass these three these parameters. Okay, from the config file. So that's it. Okay, so see, so these are the 3 use cases. Okay, so one use case, but branched with 3 3 functions. Okay, 3 models. Okay, so we have to complete these 3 models. Okay, that's it. Okay, so for read each time, you have to, write, like, know how to write a while, how to handle, okay, how to handle the scripting. Okay, for pausing this, you need to know, or like, how to run the sandbox. Okay, as sandbox run, like, you should know the car command. Okay, so for retrying, you should, while loop. Okay, again attempt loop. Okay, okay, so these are, like, logic building, and then, differs from user to user. Okay, you may be writing like in different, but but the logic is same. Okay, so that's it. So in this part, see in this part, if you are not clear, this is nothing but I'm just triggering the graph, passing the parameter. Okay, so this value 1 will be present in the graph. Okay, so value 2 will be present in the pset. Okay, so these all three names will be present in the pset. Okay, graph. If you click on the F11, okay, if you open this graph, so I've given the graph name. Okay, so run dash graph name. Okay, if you open this graph, you will find, if you press F11, you will find the value 1, value 2, value 3. Okay, so when we pass from here, it will get overwritten. Okay, so this value will get overwritten there, and then your graph runs. Okay, so make sure you understand this properly. It's highly important that you understand the Unix coding. Okay, so Unix is like important. Okay, shell scripting is important for Abinitio. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so thanks Shreya for bringing out this question. So we'll just come up with another topic. Okay, so tomorrow like we'll just discuss all the all the topics related to Unix. Okay, so that we'll finish the Unix and then we'll go for SQL later. So that's it for today. So I'll just see you guys in tomorrow's video. Okay, so until then, bye bye.